in Lagos State are kept somewhere in Ogun State. They call it Adigbe also. I'm sure some of us know. And that's where the issue is. And that's where we want to. One, visits. We have had reports. Some of our colleagues have gone there, but we also want to go there, then take it up, both with the Attorney General, the Chief Judge of Lagos, and the Federal. What's the problem? Many of them do not attend courts on their due date, and that's where relations of these children have cried to many organizations, and the media need to know this and escalate it. A situation where there is a date for an underage offender to have his day in court and is not able to be produced. Now, the facility there, we understand, is run by the Nigerian Correctional Service. There's another facility somewhere around the Oregu Road in Lagos here, which is the Boys Remand Home. I understand that, we understand, rightly so, that it is run by the Lagos State Ministry of Social Welfare. But I think because of the congestion now, some people are now moved there too to be kept who have cases in court. So we see a two-system or two-tier holding centers. So we want to look, we are going to take up this so that whatever it will take, if it means that virtual hearings will also be instituted in that center in Abeokuta. But as long as it is for the purpose of letting the underage people, these underage boys and girls, have their day in court. Another aspect of our intervention is going to do with the welfare. We understand that the conditions of their remand are so bad. These are children or underage people below 18 in Nigeria, according to our laws, are not supposed to be kept in the main prisons if they commit, except when during trial they attain 18, then they are moved there. But if we are not taking care of this group of people now, by the time they are released, how will they be? And that's something that we need to. There have also been issues where the age of a particular inmate is contested. We see situations like that in court when people are brought to court, and the lawyers tell the court he is below 18, and the correctional services contest. These are part of the issues. We take a person below 18 and keep him in Ikoyi or in maximum or in medium. We've automatically robbed him of whatever little innocency that remains in his life. Because at the end of the day, he's going to come out from there knowing more than he ought to know. For us as an organization, we are taking this up. This is, of course, she is here. She can say one or two things. Our gender and gender welfare and child rights officer, Kayla Abraham, you have something to add to this?
As said, our NGO is calling for the strict judicial compliance with procedures, this underage procedures, and immediate review of all ongoing child remand cases. We also want the justice system to audit children, current child remand cases, to audit them, yes, an audit, and fast track, diversion, their trials, rehabilitation where appropriate. We also would love the justice system to implement training of police and prosecutors on child-friendly procedures. Because when they have an understanding, we wouldn't see cases of, the children treating the children cases like adult offender cases. And also expand legal aid for minors. We barely see legal aid for underage offenders, juvenile. Also ensure implementation, state-level implementation plans, and even public reporting on child cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
The media needs to come in, yes, and speak about this.
Take back to the media. So for us as an organization, we are putting
down
letters in place in the next week.
Wrap it up on the Child Rights Acts and enforcement of the Child Rights Acts, as well as police excesses, prison congestions. We just bring practical asks today, like auditing and fast-tracking remand cases, empower independent police oversight. Also, seeking legal aid for these minors. And that is really one of our major goals as an organization. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Joseph.
Okay. Honestly, it's really going on. There are cases where judicial officers say when they go to the correctional facilities, the inmates don't like coming out. But when you do an audit, you see everybody one-on-one. You get to talk to him. Are you going to court? What is the stage of your case in court? You know? So it's not rocket science. We can have, with this age of digital age now, we can have something that on the board, when you go to a facility, you can capture, if there are 3,000 inmates, for example, you say, okay, 1,200 are ongoing cases, and this is the stage of their cases. 500 are convicted, and they are already convicted, serving time. Now, you know, it's not rocket science. Thank God for our very digital able Minister of Interior, who is doing wonderfully well in these other sectors. Can he please turn the searchlight to the prisons? Can we do an audit? We say we are building correctional facilities under former President Buhari when Mr. Regbeshola was Minister of Interior, that we are building mega facilities. Are they in the cloud? Where are these facilities? So please, can we do an audit of all these facilities and get it done as quickly as possible? Thank you.
Okay, Chief Judges of States. Lagos is the center of excellence. Lagos prides itself. Please, walk the talk beyond these pitches. And the other 35, and the Federal High Courts, and the National Industrial Court. Oversight, for example, the law says that when it concerns federal government law enforcement organizations like customs, the NDLEA, immigration, these people also have their holding cells. The law says it's the judge of a high court or federal high court that should be oversighting those places, not just magistrates. How many of these judges have attended those places? NDLEA cells in Lagos, how many judges have had a visit there? So our judiciary, please, let's rise up to something in the next 10 months or so. And the media, thanks for your efforts, and please join us to keep the checks on. I believe at the end of the day, we will have a reason to smile. Please come again when we call you. Thank you, and thank you very much. Medium, maximum, female, but sure, there are.
Yeah. Speaking, the welfare condition of the inmates, especially in the places we have been to, because we can only report on the ones we have seen. There is a marginal improvement. And this marginal improvement, it's all down to the officers who are heading the facilities. You know, we get feedback from people who have been released by the courts through our organization. So there have been marginal situation. 2 weeks ago, we had a young man, Hausa young man, that was released by the court, I think court 4, Ekpe, at the virtual court sitting in Ikoyi. The physical condition of this young man is that bad that he couldn't even stand up, because obviously he has not eaten for a whole day. I engaged him, spoke to him, and in fact I felt like weeping. His whole body was raw, that is from scratches all over his body. So I'm not using that as a general condition anyway, but The feeding conditions, the sleeping condition, like we have discussed, if a facility that has capacity for 800 is now keeping 3,500, it doesn't, we don't need mathematics to say that the sleeping condition will still be the same. If feeding conditions now, we attend that place, and honestly, for even the correctional facility officers, they are under pressure. You understand? Because one of the things they look out for is security of that facility. So when there is, there are times when they open them in the mornings, maybe by 10 o'clock, and when they come out, most of the officers have the ability to look at the conditions and call them back if the situation is too volatile, you know. So their welfare situation, for some, is even worse than what we had last year. For others, through the intervention of the officers in charge of the facility, I don't want to mention names here, because we've heard when some came and say, when this Oga came, things improved. And what are those things, these inmates? What are of this value to them? One of the things me and you take for granted is that time they opened them out. My God, that is a very valuable time to them. You know, an officer can come and say, okay, there is tension in the air. For the next 4 days, don't open these people up. To them, that is very valuable. You understand? You open them, you give them the chance to even express themselves, to have these things, you understand? So it's down to the facility. We are talking in Lagos now that situations are far, far better in the correctional facilities in Lagos than what we have. Reports from our partners in Abuja, Suleja, and other places. Wow. Wow. It's worse. Thank you.
Yes, any other question? It's my pleasure. Wow.
She's a nurse from Punch. So, please kindly introduce.
Because the faces are familiar. Criminal justice sector to oversee reform. Welfare officer. She also has a concurrent accreditation, the business of the day, if I'm permitted. I'm going to read the prepared script to an extent, then explain and take questions. But the theme of the meeting is the new legal year and the lingering justice questions. The new legal year and the lingering justice questions. So, gentlemen of the media, good afternoon again. The end of September every year marks the annual ritual of new legal year commemoration at the various tiers of the federal judiciary, as well as the 36 states of the federation. Ceremonies mark the inauguration of another cycle of adjudication in the hallowed temples of justice. This year's ceremonials have not disappointed in either pomp or pageantry, as many states have rolled out the red carpet to mark the occasion. As usual, speeches highlighting achievements and making projections have been plenty. Litanies of challenges facing the judiciary were also reeled out by several chief judges. It is therefore apt for us as stakeholders in the justice sector to weigh in with our views by way of agenda setting and expectations in the next 10 months or thereabouts. While the speeches flowed in these ceremonies, many Nigerians in far-flung parts of our nation fail to relate with the significance of these ceremonies, because for them, justice is beyond long speeches. They eagerly await the day when they can touch justice, or put differently, the day justice can touch them. When that day comes, the inaugural legal year pomp will strike a chord of meaning in their hearts. It is for these and other Nigerians that we make this call on our courts and judiciary heads in various tiers of our judiciary. We urge them to take notes of the following. 1, strengthening oversight. A key part of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, ACJA, and other various state laws provide for monthly visits by judicial officers to the cells and detention facilities of law enforcement agencies. These laws also provide for oversight assessment reports. These reports will be sent to the chief judges and the attorney generals of these states. The responsibility of oversight has been lacking in many states and the federal level itself. And then what's the result? We see the continued illegal detention of persons, abuse and violations of these persons in many cells across the country. Number 2, the enforcement of the Child Rights Act. Increasingly, we hear in reports in the media how children are put through all manner of abuses, all manner of harrowing experiences. They are the receiving end of society's run-ups. And the laws which guide their rights and even enforce justice when they themselves go wrong, those laws are not enforced. In many states, the child rights laws exist only on paper, devoid of structures for the protection of the child. And in these many states, there is a serious lack of adequate detention facilities where children and underage offenders are kept. The consequence is that these underage people are lumped together. These children are lumped together with adults in the same spaces, further subjecting them to abuse. And of particular note, which is something we're going to be speaking in this conference, is what we have observed. This is something that is across the nation. Slow trial of child offenders. We're going to talk about this later. But this is something that is of note, and this is a part of our agenda set for our judiciary, federal judiciary, and especially the states this new legal year. Logistics to convey them to courts and from courts is virtually non-existent. And reports that we have had is that many relatives, many relations of this child and underage offenders pay a lot for them to have their day in courts. Number 3 is the police excesses. Nigerians are progressively on the receiving end of police brutality and infractions. Daily we hear reports of abuse, torture, extortion, and violations by the police against citizens. Unfortunately, the internal mechanism within the police force itself is unable to curb this trend. And that's where the courts have to come in. So if the courts fail to put these errant people on a leash, very soon we'll be witnessing another uprising in the society. Of course, you and I know that the civic space is shrinking daily. And the police, working for the executive in some instances, has come hard on rights activists, critics of government, good governance advocates, and even journalists. So many journalists today are on the receiving end. And that is why it's important for us to know that the space, the civic space, is shrinking. We are therefore calling on the judiciary to join hands to live up to their billing as the arm of government has been saddled with interpreting the law, making orders for the safety and good governance of the nation as a whole. Number 4, prison congestion. Incidentally, despite legal aid interventions by many groups, and even where the judiciary has their own measures to decongest these facilities, unfortunately, we still see congestion in our prisons and correctional facilities. Inmates stay years on end awaiting trial. This is something that even the authorities themselves acknowledge. So we repeat our call. We use this podium, this space, this opportunity to repeat this call. We've made this call over time, that there is a need, a strong need, a heartfelt need for the authorities to do what we have called the auditing of our correctional centers. Let's know what each inmate is there for. Let's know who and who are there. It's not a dumping ground. It's a place where anybody who is there has a business or should have a business with the law. So that's our waiting trial as a convict. But not, and will never, and should never be a dumping ground where people are brought, kept pending when anybody wakes up to decide their fate. It's wrong. And that's why, of course, part of the things we'll explain later, why it's important for the Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee. This is a statutory body set up by the ACJA 2015, which has the mandate, amongst others, to look at the state of the correctional facilities. We believe that this auditing we are calling for falls directly on this committee. At the state level, including Lagos State, here we have the State Criminal Justice Reform Committees. They are also legal bodies styled in the same format with the federal body. And what is their responsibility? To look into our correctional centers. We have stories where people are kept 8 years, they have not attended court. We see so much. And this is time in this new legal year for us not just to talk, give speeches, but to walk the talk. Number 5, the Cyber Crimes Act. And this is something I believe that the journalists and the media people should also rise to speak about. When the amendment to this act was made in 2024, the police began to use it to crack down on so many people. We have seen many convictions based on the Cyber Crimes Act.